Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Oscar Film Forecast. Today we are covering the topic of Best Director, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Ben Campbell. Yeah, so how are you feeling about this category this year, Ben?
I'm feeling it's very boring. Last year we had a lot of surprises. We had some really interesting people pop in. It was very unknown what was going to happen. Emerald Fennell was number 11, and the next, then you blink
Yeah.
an eye, and then she's like number five, number three. It was really, really interesting to see how everything happened. Last minute, you had people like Darius Marder, Shaka King. You had the director of Another Round, whose name I'm forgetting, Thomas Vinterberg.
Yeah.
You had all these people surge. You had your Chloe Zhao, you had your Locks who were really solid. This year, I am not feeling as enthused, but I think we will feel more enthused when we see looks at these movies. We've seen looks at one of these movies that I'm going to talk about, but the rest of them are kind of up in the air.
hmm I think I know what movie you're talking about because that person should be nominated for director. So getting into it,
Yeah, I think
what
so too.
honorable do you have any honorable mentions?
I do. They are Ridley Scott because he's directing two movies, and if they're both in any way decent, the fact that they're coming out in month apart could be something with like, good job you for directing two movies.
Yeah.
They could nominate him for either. Hopefully, the one where people know what accent they're doing, that would be
Yeah.
very good. Lin-Manuel Miranda because they
Yeah.
like Lin-Manuel Miranda quite a bit. Although he's never actually delivered in Hollywood, like he
Yeah.
keeps failing.
He
Like
does.
he keeps not failing, but like he didn't win the Golden Globe, and people thought he would win the Golden Globe, and he didn't really deliver for Moana. He didn't win the Oscar for that. He did not. Mary Poppins Returns. Genuinely, what a dreadful performance he gave in that movie. In the Heights fell
Yeah.
flat on its face. Tick Tick Boom was honestly like one of his last chances, and so it could be like Hollywood be like, okay, we need to save this guy unless he wins the Emmy, but I don't think that's going to happen. Um,
Yeah.
and then Joel Cohen for the
Yeah.
Macbeth.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with Joel Cohen. He is, I think, may only have one honorable mention. Yeah, I only have one honorable mention here, honestly, which is Joel Cohen for Tragedy Macbeth.
Mm.
Without his brother this time, solo work. You know, very likely could get in there depending on how the movie goes. I
Mm.
just see it maybe as more of a acting and picture contender
Yeah,
more so than like a directing contender. But
yeah,
I think
like
there's like
Sound of Metal.
six big contenders here, and I
Mm.
honestly don't know like who number seven would be. I feel like it's like a main group of six, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I
Which would
agree with
then,
that.
yeah, then get to our number fives. Which what would you have at your number five then?
The guy who shouldn't have made it last time, but who I hope makes it this time, Paul Thomas Anderson, for
Yes.
the name that I can't say without giggling. Like it's just too funny.
Yeah, yeah, Soggy Bottom.
Yeah.
Yes, that is his next movie. I also have him in contention for best director. He is my number three.
Mm.
Um, he he's kind of overdue to win. Honestly, I don't think he's going to win. Maybe
No,
you never know. I think
he's been nominated since the '90s.
yeah, he's been nominated a lot, and he does a really good job. Yeah, I
Mm.
mean, there are some people like Oscar Ferry directors, Oscar Fair like directors, that I don't like. They're kind of hit and miss for me, but almost all Paul Thomas Anderson movies I like. So that's good for him. Yeah, so I think he's
Mm.
definitely in contention. My number five is one of your honorable mentions, Mr. Ridley Scott. And if
Mm.
I have to pick what movie he's getting in for, it's
Say
going
it.
to be The Last Duel because I
Yeah.
just think that is the bigger Oscar contender in my opinion. I think it
Definitely.
looks like a better directed movie. It looks like it has a bigger scale to it, like more
Mm.
stuff to handle, action scenes, and the such. I think probably slightly better performances, possibly. You know, and I do. He's also overdue as a director, even more so than Paul Thomas Anderson. I mean, he hasn't
Mm.
won. I mean, when you look through that House of Gucci trailer, and pretty much everyone but Adam Driver, it says like Academy Award winner, Academy Award winner. They're even doing it with Lady Gaga, who technically does have an Oscar.
Yeah, technically.
Yeah, so I mean, he is just extremely overdue
Mm.
for a Oscar win. I think he has a good shot at winning. if he gets nominated. But if he doesn't get nominated, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I think before he's done and retired, he needs to have an Oscar, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
he's my number 5.
He's made some great movies. He has. He's made some bad ones too, but he's also made some good ones.
Yeah.
Speaking of making good and bad movies, Guillermo del Toro is my number 4.
He's number 2 on my list. So I think he's definitely getting in there, in my opinion. He's not going to win.
No.
Who knows? Maybe. I mean, what's his name? Iñárritu won like 2 years in a row. So
yeah,
possible.
That was fucking unfortunate. He should not have won 2 years in a row. I'm sorry, but he shouldn't.
That's like a rare feat. So good for him pulling it off.
Good for him, but poor George Miller.
Yeah, poor George Miller. He was deserving. So number 4 was Guillermo for you. He's my number 2. So my number 3 is, I believe,
number 4. You've already said your number 3.
Oh yes, I did say my number 3 was Paul Thomas Anderson. You're right. My number 4 is Jane Campion for The Power of the Dog.
Yeah.
I do think we should probably have a female director here, especially after a year we had 2 female directors nominated and one of them won. Kind of like, just feel like a regression to go back to like a bunch of dudes. And I also just think in general, despite the gender part of it, I do think she's going to do a great job. I think Netflix clearly has a lot of faith in this movie. She's been in Oscar contention as a director, as a writer before. So, I mean, I think it's very likely just because the movie in general is a huge contender. So the movie's a big contender. She's a big contender.
Yeah, pretty much. We'll get to her later on mine, but my number 3 is the main man himself, Denis Villeneuve. Who, if Dune happens, could be in the winning conversation, because I don't really see a narrative for anyone else here. Maybe my top 2, but I think Denis has been so overlooked for so long. It's really a crime. But who should have won for Arrival, should have won for Blade Runner, should have won for Prisoner.
Yeah.
Should have won for Sicario. And he's been a great filmmaker for the past decade or so. And I'd love to see him finally be recognized with Dune. I have to say, I wasn't crazy about the newest trailer. I think the movie's going to be really good, but I didn't really like the newest trailer all that much, but I'm still excited to see it. I'm still going to see it, and I'm still think it's going to probably be incredible. But if this movie happens, Denis Villeneuve will almost certainly be nominated for her. Almost certainly. It's still a question for me. Yeah,
I believe so. Yes, I agree. I think I've gone over all of mine then, because Denis Villeneuve is my number 1.
Yeah.
He is. I mean, when you look at what everyone else has to handle directing-wise out of everyone we're talking about, I do think he has the hardest job to do here personally. He has the most aspects to handle. He has the biggest movie here, which is usually harder to direct compared to smaller movies, just because there's a lot on your plate. Kind of like George Miller, Mad Max Fury Road. I'm going to keep bringing up that comparison. I think this is very much Mad Max Fury Road on that kind of Oscar path. And hopefully he wins like George Miller probably deserved to. And he's deserving. He's done a lot of great movies. I hope he wins. I do have him at number 1. I think the most likely to win would be him, Ridley Scott, or Jane Campion, maybe. But,
well, I suppose it's my number 2 is like, who's most likely to be nominated? Well, who's always nominated with their movies? That doesn't always happen. Ridley Scott certainly isn't always nominated. Guillermo del Toro isn't always nominated. Denis Villeneuve is not always nominated, even when he should be, for Blade Runner, for Incendies. I think that's how you say that movie, or Indices. I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm butchering it.
I forget.
Arrival, he was nominated for, but that's like the only one he has. But who's always nominated with their movies? Adam McKay is always nominated with his movies.
Oh no, I didn't even know you were gonna say that.
Adam McKay is always nominated with his movies, even when like people might say he doesn't deserve it. Oh, he deserves it, baby.
That's not gonna happen. I'm sorry. 0% chance. I will bet that right now he is not getting a director nomination.
Okay, we're making a bet, everyone. You heard it here first. I believe Adam McKay will be nominated for Best Director.
0% chance.
Because he is a stupid bitch that the little monster should have eaten alive.
They did. but I survived. I came out the other end.
Yeah, they're little
Yeah,
monsters. They're not real people. It's fine.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I will say 0% chance. I think he will get nominated for writing possibly because who knows, maybe there could be some good writing.
Hmm.
I probably will look back on these early videos when Don't Look Up is a major Oscar contender and be like, what was I thinking? But right
Yeah,
now, I'm just like, no way. I
yeah,
just don't see it happening in general. But
that's fair enough. My number one is probably the shoe-in Jane Campion for the Power of the Dog. Yeah,
yeah,
who I'm very excited for. I'm glad that she's still out there making stuff, and she has a great cast. So
yeah, probably the most unique out of all of these. Like, because all these other guys we were talking about, they've been in the Oscar like contention before in
yeah,
years before. She has, but not to this extent before, and not in a long
mm,
time. And she's kind of getting back in the spotlight. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen with her movie.
yeah, it'll be interesting.
Anything else about Best Director you want to throw out there? Some Denzel Washington got a shot at Journal for Jordan. No, yeah,
He wasn't nominated for Fences, and if that movie's anything like Fences, I hope he's not nominated because it wasn't good.
yeah. Who knows?
Who
Anything
who
else?
knows? You never know this early. Who knew Thomas Vinterberg for another round to be nominated?
Exactly. Do you think, speaking of which, it's probably good to bring up the past few years, they have almost always had a foreign director because the
Mm,
director category, that guild, when they choose people, they are very different compared to the other guilds. They go very much so with the more artistic, more like visionary choices
mm,
than like the main fare most of the time, sometimes not.
yeah.
But the past few years, they have had one foreign director. Like they had Vinterberg, they had Bong Joon-ho, they
Yeah.
had what's his name? Who did well they had
Paul Pawlikowski.
yes, and they also had Corone. Yeah, it's very the past few years been consistent. Do you think there's anyone this year and who could do that or no? In
Yeah,
fact,
it's that film from TIFF. No, not TIFF. Cannes, the worst person in the world, or something is it called?
yes, I think that's possible. Yeah, I forget the
There's a
director's
few.
name.
There Netflix has a foreign film, as well. I can't remember the name of it.
The Hand of God.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's possible too.
you never really know. I suppose we'll see what gets more heat as we get closer.
Yeah,
It's hard to call this early. I didn't even know another round existed
yeah.
last
With
year.
the foreign films, it is much later in the game that you could
Yeah,
even get an idea of what's
like
coming.
The Life Ahead didn't get anything except for song, and
Yeah,
that was like the only foreign film I really knew about going into, except for, no, 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 it was actually it was the only one I knew about.
yeah, yeah. So who knows? Maybe we could have someone come in and sneak in and kick, who
Yes,
knows, like Ridley Scott off the
finesse.
list or something. Or Adam McKay. Definitely kick him off the list.
Yeah,
He was
I'm
never on it.
sure he wasn't.
Okay, so that's our best director predictions. Please comment down below. What do you think? Who do you think's in contention for best director this upcoming season? What do you think of our predictions? And yeah, like the video, share, subscribe to all that fun stuff, and join us next time for some more Oscar predictions.